Dealers are panicking and the motorcycle world is about to change forever. Shipments are freezing, showrooms are emptying, and some of the biggest names in motorcycling are inches from bankruptcy. We're talking brands riders grew up worshiping, now struggling to stay alive. Parts aren't shipping, technicians are leaving, loyalty is breaking. This isn't just a slowdown, it's a full-blown industry meltdown happening right now. So which legendary companies are running out of cash? And what does it mean for riders like you? Let's break down the ones that might not make it through 2025. Number 7. Norton. Some legends roar through history so loud you think they'll never fade until silence proves otherwise. It looks right from 20 feet and feels honest at idle. It promises that clean, mechanical conversation older riders respect. But memory is not a warranty, and romance cannot answer the phone. A great ride turns sour when parts sleep on a shelf for months. What matters, especially for men who ride distance, is predictable support. You want a service counter that knows your name and your miles. You want a technician who listens, not a call center script. You want spares that arrive before the weekend. The Commando asks a fair question. Do you want a museum piece or do you want a partner that starts on cold mornings and goes? Older backs know the answer because pain teaches better than print. Power is nothing if the next town cannot supply a gasket. Price is acceptable when the machine returns value and quiet reliability. Mileage is wisdom. Wisdom demands a network that keeps you moving. There is still real sweetness in the way this twin makes torque. It pulls clean off the clutch and settles into a steady march. That rhythm tucks a long day into shorter, easier pieces of road. Bars stay calm, mirrors usable, and the seat treats you like a friend. The ride position respects aging knees without bragging about ergonomics or trends. On a calm evening, you forget spreadsheets and remember who you were. That is the trap for men like us. Heart overhead. We see a silhouette from magazine days and hear music in metal. Yet the world changed while we were working, riding, and raising families. Today's ride demands parts pipelines, diagnostics, and dealers who answer texts quickly. The Commando's character is strong. The infrastructure behind it still proves fragile. Small networks turn vacations into scavenger hunts for someone with the right scanner. A light failure can park a trip if the hub stock is thin. No amount of polish can replace a missing sensor or harness clip. If you tour long and keep promises, you already know the drill. Carry a kit, maintain a log, and demand receipts with names and dates. Listen for trueness, not just music. Watch temperatures, not just scenery. Demand a machine that proves itself every time you cross a state line. The Commando remains a fine motorcycle, better than its worries at speed. It can make a man feel 10 years younger at dawn. But experience says reliability is respect, and respect is earned in service bays. Choose with your eyes open and judge a machine by who supports it. Every rider who ever trusted this machine knows the sting of disappointment. It's not just metal at risk, it's memory. Once the pride of an island, it now sits between resurrection and regret, its legacy balanced on borrowed time. History alone can't keep an engine running. And the story that follows proves just how quickly legacy can turn into liability. If you're still watching, you're one of the riders who actually cares about where this industry's heading. Drop a comment below. Tell me which brand you think is next to fall. And if this hits home, give that like button a tap. Number 6. Moto Guzzi. On the quiet shores of Italy, a name once defined the soul of simplicity. Today, it's fighting just to stay heard. It rides with that calm, grounded confidence older riders respect. It feels mechanical, honest, and connected. You roll the throttle and feel the motor's steady rhythm, not a computer's guess. For riders who came up on two-strokes and carburetors, that means something. This bike does not chase headlines, it delivers companionship. The torque builds smooth from idle. The seating stays upright and comfortable, and the chassis feels willing on every stretch of highway. For touring veterans, it strikes that rare balance between comfort and control, never harsh, never lazy, always ready. Still, behind that charm hides the problem. It is hard to buy one, and harder to service it. You can admire the V100 in magazines all day, but depending on your state, finding a dealership can feel like chasing a rumor. Older riders know how that story ends. One small issue on a trip, one warning light on the dash, and suddenly you are phoning across 3 counties looking for parts. That is not the open road freedom we grew up with. That is modern frustration painted in Italian red. Yet the heart of this machine deserves respect. The transversely mounted twin hums with character, that familiar side rocket startup that reminds you machines once had personalities. It brings back the days when every ride had a soundtrack of gears, oil, and patience. The fit and finish show that someone still believes motorcycles should be built with both hands, not just software. The details feel carved, not printed. It is the kind of machine you wipe down by hand after a long ride, not because it needs it, but because you want to. But nostalgia can only carry a company so far. The market today demands availability, reliability, and technology that keeps pace with competition. Moto Guzzi has history in its favor, but has struggled to keep that heritage alive in modern traffic. The V100 proves they still know how to build a proper rider's motorcycle. Comfortable, soulful, and capable, but without stronger investment and better dealer support, the name risks slipping into the background noise of memory. For the rider who values individuality over trends, the V100 still calls. It is not for the impatient or the careless. It is for the man who prefers the sound of torque over the hum of marketing. Every mile feels personal. Every stop earns a conversation, and every glance reminds you that real motorcycles are still built in places where pride matters. For those who still believe motorcycles should have character instead of convenience, this one remains sacred. Its hum feels human, its soul mechanical. Yet sentiment doesn't fill showrooms, and nostalgia alone can't keep factories alive when progress rides faster every year. The cracks in tradition run deeper than they look, and the next story shows what happens when heritage is left standing still. Save this for later. Description has the gears and accessories I recommend tested on real miles. Number 5. Indian few names carry the weight of American heritage like this one, yet even the proudest badge can start to feel heavy when direction is lost. It carried the same pride as the flag on a soldier's sleeve, honor earned through hard miles, not marketing. The Scout looks right, feels solid, and sounds like work done well. It still carries that unmistakable low stance and iron backbone that older riders trust. The engine pulls clean through mid-range, the balance keeps strain off the wrists, and the ergonomics fit riders who measure comfort in hours, not minutes. Out on the highway, it rides like a handshake between generations, a machine that remembers its lineage but still tries to speak to the present. For many, that promise of continuity still matters more than any spec sheet. But beneath the paint and power lies an identity crisis that keeps the company nervous. Under Polaris, Indian came roaring back with the kind of ambition we once thought lost. The early relaunch models brought new energy to the American market, and riders finally had a choice again. Yet over time, the network never grew fast enough. Dealers closed, inventories thinned, and long-term service became harder to guarantee. Older riders who wanted to trade their worn Harleys for something familiar but fresh found that the nearest parts counter might be 2 states away. Pride only lasts so long when a sensor fails, and the nearest technician is a calendar away. There's another wound, and it cuts deeper than supply. Indian's image used to stand on tradition, a symbol riders wore with pride because it meant heritage, bravery, and hard-won identity. But when the company began reshaping that image, it divided its own faithful. The badge lost some of its history's texture, and longtime owners felt something had been taken without a word. A motorcycle brand can modernize, but it cannot rewrite the men who carried it through decades of silence. Still, the Scout remains one of the most honest bikes on American pavement. It may not have the massive dealer network of its rival, but its build quality and performance are still there. For riders who tune their machines at home, it feels familiar, approachable, and proud. It is a working man's motorcycle. Strong enough to fight the wind, comfortable enough for distance, and humble enough not to brag about it. Indian stands at a crossroads in 2025. Its machines remain capable, but its direction feels uncertain. The question is whether it can rebuild trust before nostalgia turns to frustration. You can still spot one rolling down Main Street, chrome glowing like a memory that refuses to fade. The power is there, the pride remains, but the promise feels thinner now. Beautiful machines searching for a purpose that once came naturally. When a name built on pride starts questioning its own identity, the road ahead turns unpredictable. And one rival learned that the hard way. Number 4. KTM. The color of fire once stood for speed, strength, and control, but lately that flame's been burning too hot to handle. KTM built its name on grit, competition, and sheer mechanical willpower, the kind of bikes that took a beating and asked for more. For decades, it was the rider's choice for racing stripes and long trails built to outlast the chatter of the crowd. Now, in 2025, that legacy faces a harder kind of race, one fought not on dirt or track, but across ledgers and factories. KTM rose from a small Austrian workshop into a global powerhouse. It carried the look and swagger of victory, all sharp lines and raw purpose. Riders knew what it stood for: speed with attitude, precision without compromise. The machines always felt alive, as if they were daring you to keep up. But somewhere between ambition and expansion, the balance tipped. The company stretched itself across more markets than it could service, chasing scale instead of stability. Those of us who rode long enough have seen that story before. Brands grow too fast, then suddenly forget what made them strong. Financial pressure hit hard after years of aggressive growth. When the company entered self-administration to restructure, it sent a chill through dealers worldwide. In plain language, that meant the factory was reorganizing under supervision to stay afloat. A move meant to save it, but one that also signals how close things came to the edge. Warehouses filled faster than sales could clear them. Inventory stacked up, waiting for customers who were suddenly cautious. For a brand built on confidence, hesitation is poison. The aura of invincibility cracks fast when dealers whisper about delayed shipments and unpaid accounts. Still, no one can deny KTM's engineering skill. The brand built motorcycles that rode like sharpened tools, responsive, loud, alive. The Super Duke and Adventure series proved that European performance could stand beside any Japanese name on the street or dirt. The problem was never the bikes, it was the business surrounding them. You cannot run a throttle wide open forever. Riders who bought into the brand for its precision now worry about what happens to service and parts if the restructuring stumbles. It is the same concern that haunted Norton before its rescue: great machines with fragile support systems. For American riders, KTM always felt like the wild card. It was not a cruiser brand, but it earned respect for doing its own thing. Many veterans of the dirt and dual sport world remember their first ride on an orange frame, light, brutal, and unapologetic. Yet, as the years rolled by, the brand's pricing crept upward, chasing prestige instead of practicality. That is a risky move when your buyers are blue-collar riders who value performance over polish. Even with its current troubles, KTM still stands tall in spirit. The bikes remain fierce, the technology cutting edge, the performance unmatched in their class. But survival now depends on restraint, not speed. For older riders who know that torque without traction leads to a fall, there is a lesson here. Every company must eventually downshift or risk blowing the engine. Every company dreams of speed, few survive it. The harder this one pushed, the more cracks appeared beneath the paint. Great engineering can win trophies, but endurance wins trust. And trust is the one thing that can't be mass-produced or replaced. Ambition can take you to the top, but when the throttle stays wide open too long, even the strongest start to skid. Number 3. MV Agusta. Every line on this machine looks carved from passion itself, yet beneath the art lies a story built on struggle and survival. It has always been the poster child for Italian design, a symbol of precision wrapped in passion. It looks like it was sculpted by a craftsman who wanted motion to stand still for a second, frozen mid-lunge. Every angle gleams with confidence. Every surface dares you to find a flaw. When you fire it up, the engine snarls like a wild animal, and that alone feels worth the price of entry. Riders who have spent decades with steel tanks and air-cooled twins understand craftsmanship, and this machine delivers it in every weld and contour. It is raw emotion on two wheels, but emotion does not balance the books. Behind the beauty, the brand has struggled for stability. MV Agusta's story is one of glory and constant resurrection. It dominated racing through the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, carried by legends like Giacomo Agostini. But that racing heritage came at a cost, and the company has spent decades walking the edge between revival and ruin. Every time it rises again, ownership changes hands, new promises are made, and loyal riders hope this time will be different. That constant shuffle has made dealers cautious and customers wary. You can build the world's most beautiful motorcycle, but if parts take a month to arrive, trust evaporates. The current. Machines are breathtaking, yet the challenge remains the same: low production numbers and limited distribution. Riders who want one often have to search far and wide, and those who own one know that long-term maintenance can be a question mark. For everyday American riders, the kind who measure reliability in seasons, not in Sunday rides, that is a deal breaker. The brutal might be a joy to ride, but it is also a responsibility. When something so finely tuned falters, you cannot just walk into the nearest shop and fix it. That fragility keeps it more dream than tool. Still, every true rider feels a tug of admiration for the brand. The name alone stirs respect. It represents a level of pride and artistry the modern world rarely bothers to maintain. You do not buy an MV Agusta because you need transportation. You buy it because you love motorcycles at their most beautiful and most dangerous. It is the kind of machine that tests both your skill and your patience. In 2025, MV Agusta still rides, still shines, and still struggles. Its fate depends on whether art can survive the economics of mass production. Riders still whisper about its design like art collectors talk about lost masterpieces. But beauty can't outrun bills, and pride doesn't pay suppliers. The motorcycle world remembers every fall, and this brand's elegance risks becoming its most expensive mistake yet. Artistry can inspire admiration, but it can't pay the bills, and what follows shows how beauty alone struggles to survive. If you believe real motorcycles still matter, and you want the truth before dealers admit it, hit subscribe right now. Every week we uncover the stories others won't touch. Stay sharp, stay proud, and keep the throttle steady. The ride isn't over yet. Number 2, Harley-Davidson. No sound in motorcycling carries more weight than a low-rolling V-twin, but even the strongest heartbeat can falter under its own legend. For over a century, it stood as a symbol of the open road, of long rides through wind and dust, of pride earned with every mile. But in 2025, even the mightiest American legend finds itself fighting for survival in a market that is shifting beneath its tires. What was once a badge of rebellion now faces the quiet test of relevance. The problem isn't that Harley lost its sound or soul, it's that it lost its footing. The company that once defined affordability and accessibility for working riders now finds itself selling motorcycles priced far beyond the reach of the average man. Entry points that once drew in younger riders have turned into barriers. The result is a brand struggling to attract fresh blood while holding on to a loyal base that's aging out of the saddle. It's not about performance, it's about identity. Harley was never just chrome and steel, it was belonging. Somewhere along the line, that connection began to strain. For older riders, the brand still feels like home. The engines still throb with familiar rhythm. The frame still feels right beneath the weight of experience, and the styling still reflects an era when craftsmanship meant something. But younger riders see something different. A company bound by its own history, slower to adapt while the world around it evolves. Electric models were supposed to open new doors, but the response was mixed. Many felt that Harley tried to chase trends rather than set them, losing touch with the grit and attitude that once made it unstoppable. Inside dealerships, the reality is quieter but just as serious. Inventories linger longer. Financing programs grow more aggressive. Riders talk about resale values, not resale pride. Harley once represented the ultimate American dream, a brand built by the people, for the people. Now it feels like a corporation learning how to speak to its own roots again. You can still hear that unmistakable rumble when one passes by, but behind it lies a company trying to prove that heritage and modern survival can coexist. And yet hope still lingers in the roar. The touring lineup remains one of the strongest in the world. The trikes keep veterans in the wind when age says otherwise. The custom culture surrounding Harley still fuels small shops, backyard builders, and brotherhoods across the country. This isn't a brand that dies overnight. It bends, it struggles, but it always fights back. The challenge is not whether Harley can build motorcycles, it's whether it can rebuild trust. For riders who grew up with grease under their fingernails and a V-twin heartbeat in their chest, Harley-Davidson will always be more than a logo. It's the echo of every long haul, every highway sunset, every hard-earned story told around a fire. But nostalgia cannot run a business forever. Unless the company learns to honor its past while embracing the road ahead, the roar that once united generations may fade to a whisper. Some legacies roar, others rumble through time. This one still echoes in every small-town garage and late-night roadside stop. Yet even legends must adapt, or they turn into monuments. Every revolution tests its faith. Every silence questions what's left to save. Even the loudest engines can go quiet when the world changes faster than they do, and the story that remains may surprise every rider who still believes in steel. Number 1. Suzuki. For decades, this name meant trust on every highway. The kind of reliability that didn't need advertising, just the proof of miles ridden and engines that refused to quit. It was the brand of working riders, the quiet giant that delivered real-world performance without the flash or the fuss. In every small town and along every interstate, there was always a Suzuki in someone's garage, steady, simple, and built to last. But in 2025, that legacy feels like it's slipping away. The company still builds good motorcycles, but it no longer commands the same respect it once did. What used to be a name for endurance has become a whisper in a crowded room. Suzuki's decline didn't come from failure, it came from hesitation. While competitors pushed innovation, expanded model ranges, and built stronger dealer networks, Suzuki stayed conservative. Many of its core models carried over for years with minimal updates. And while that consistency appealed to riders who valued familiarity, it also painted the brand as stagnant. In an industry moving toward technology, advanced safety systems, and performance versatility, Suzuki's lineup began to look like a time capsule. That's not a compliment when the market expects evolution. The withdrawal from MotoGP racing in 2022 hit harder than expected. Racing wasn't just marketing for Suzuki, it was proof of capability, a flag of pride for those who remembered the glory days of the GSXRs and two-stroke screamers. To walk away from the world stage signaled something deeper, a company retreating into survival mode. When you stop showing up to compete, riders start to wonder if you still belong in the fight. That moment marked a turning point, and loyal fans felt it like a punch to the chest. Dealers noticed the same change. Fewer new models, fewer marketing pushes, and fewer reasons for younger riders to walk through the door. For older owners, the kind who still keep their Bandit or Boulevard polished and running, it feels like watching an old friend fade from the spotlight. The reliability is still there, the engine's still dependable, but there's little excitement left in the brand. Even the loyalists admit that the spark that once defined Suzuki is growing dim. When a company builds machines that last forever but forgets to inspire the next generation, the future becomes a shrinking road. And yet, there's a bittersweet pride among those who still ride them. Suzuki motorcycles might not have the glamour of European brands or the aggressive marketing of American icons, but they've earned something more valuable: trust. These bikes have crossed continents, carried soldiers home from deployment, and stayed alive through decades of neglect and hard miles. They were never about showing off. They were about showing up. Today, Suzuki stands at a crossroads. The machines are solid, but the message is unclear. Without renewed focus and energy, the company risks becoming a side note in the very story it helped write. For riders who still remember those bulletproof engines and endless rides, that's a hard truth to swallow. Legacy means nothing if it isn't carried forward. As we close this countdown, one truth remains. Brands can fall, factories can fade, but the riders who lived through their glory days will never forget what real motorcycles once stood for. The truth is, these brands aren't just names. They're memories, miles and moments that built who we are as riders. But the industry's changing faster than anyone wants to admit. So what do you think? Which brand survives and which one fades first? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every one. If this hit home, give it a like and don't forget to subscribe, because the next story we're covering might just be the one that changes everything.